Alright, hello everyone and welcome to today's Gems of War video. In this video I have for you my scouting report for Dragon's Claw Week, which will begin April 15th, 2024. Dragon's Claw is right over there on the eastern side of the map, just northwest of Hellcrag, which was our previous Kingdom of the Week. As far as the tribute numbers go, we're looking at the base numbers. The best number is going to be the Glory. Glory is tied for 7th with Leonis Empire, the base level of 7. So if you want to make Dragon's Claw your home kingdom, just know that you're not going to get a lot, relatively speaking, for either Glory or Soul. As for the rest of the stats for Dragon's Claw, first of all, you might be surprised to know that Dragon's Claw has a lot of dragons in it. Oh, I was surprised too. But Dragon's Claw is a fire kingdom with an armor bonus. That said, you probably won't be taking Dragon's Claw to level 20 right away. That's because there are other kingdoms that are fire kingdoms with an attack bonus. You probably do those first. As far as everything else, Dragon's Claw's trait stone is the Arcane Storm trait stone, so red and yellow. Good thing is, while you won't be able to get this trait stone from Dragon's Claw during Dragon's Claw Week, you'll still be able to get it from both Adana and Shentai. As for the maximum power, Dragon's Claw's maximum power is already 30, so it's not going to get any higher than that, hopefully. And it's will just what we're going to add to Dragon's Claw will just simply make it easier to attain power. All right, so let's take a look at the core 4 and the 4 more. Core 4 are the troops that are part of the Epic Trials. Now, I think that compared to what I used, compared to what other people could use, I think there's some options as far as the first and third troops. I don't know where you're gonna necessarily put Matron Dragantani, but second I think is a good spot for her, and I put the Dragon Eggs on fourth. So just going through them one at a time. So Frostanath does magic based damage to all enemies and freezes 1 to 4 random enemies. Good one to put on top because he does gain 2 life on 4 or 5 gem matches, so he's getting some life, and also reduces damage from skulls by 30%. Now, Red Ahriman also has the same trait that reduces damage from skulls by 30%. He also has immunity to burning and fairy fire, and also gains bonus red mana from red gem matches. So for that reason, I like to use him as kind of more of my primary DPS for this. He explodes a mana gem and deals magic-based damage to all enemies of that mana color. If you are paying attention to the troops on the other side, you'll know that they're all green. So all you have to do is explode 1 green gem, and that damage gets done to all 4 troops on the other side. So that would be the way I would do it. One does not necessarily mana block the other, although right now So Matron Dragantani, this is one that gets a lot of interest from time to time, and that's because of her third trait, which reduces damage from spells by 75%. Other than that, her spell creates 6 blue gems boosted by frozen enemies, then deals magic-based damage to the first and last enemies boosted by blue gems. She only has 1 boost ratio, and that's ×2, so I'm assuming that refers to both of them. The reduction of damage from spells by 75% sounds great. You wonder why I don't put her at the top, and that's because that doesn't do anything to skull damage. So I'd rather them try to have to beat her with magic than to try to beat her with. And then, of course, there's the dragon eggs. Dragon eggs Summons a baby dragon when you cast a spell, so you're basically got to charge this up, wait for the opportunity when one of your other troops goes down, and then replace it with a dragon egg, and or you'd replace it with a baby dragon, and then charge up the baby dragon, cast that spell, and you get a random dragon on your side of the board. But for the most part, I don't like to root for failure. I just try to get things done with the. And I don't think I had a lot of problems with this one. I think this one was relatively easy. So let me know how it goes for you. As far as the other four, I recommend either pulling for or maxing out. First one I'm going to suggest is Dragonette. You'd be surprised how many troops summon Dragonette when they die. So it kind of behooves you to have a maxed out Dragonette if you can. Dragonette is a rare troop, so you can get this one from the gold chest, so you probably already have it. As far as the Egg Thief goes, the Egg Thief is a fairly popular mana generator for Dragon's Claw. In case you haven't noticed, she is not a dragon, but she does destroy a number of random gems boosted by gold, gains 10 gold, and then summons a dragon egg. So you can make a game go. You can keep yourself in the game for quite a while with her if you really want to. And this, when the AI has control of a team where that's effective using this troop, it can get really annoying. So, as for Essentia is a base level legendary, so this one will be hard to get. Essentia summons 1/3 dragon spirits. If there's already one on your team, then explode 10 gems. The most important part of Essentia is the third trait, which gives all dragon allies a 50% mana start. That trait is always important. If there's a troop out there that gives any troop type a 50% mana start, then you want to make sure you got that troop. So if you don't have Essentia during Dragon's Claw week, you can consider using some of your event keys to try to get Essentia. Now, as far as the Mimic that I would recommend, it's a little bit tricky because there's 5 to choose from. And it's even more tricky because 2 of them are a little bit more specialty rather than what we would normally consider to be troops that we would get from the Soul Forge. The first one is Horde Mimic. Horde Mimic you get from beating the Mimic chests at the end of Explore battles. So if you don't have this one, just do Explore 12 battles until you do. You will get it eventually, and then you will trade it up, max it out, and then you will forget that you ever had it because it is borderline useless. Spell, no. Traits, no. It boosts your Dragon Claw's kingdom power, and that's about it. Diamantina is another troop that is very hard to get. To get Diamantina, you have to craft all 6 of the gem dragons, and then you have to craft both of the weapons that you are able to craft once you've got those dragons, and then once you've got both of those weapons, then you can craft Diamantina. Great, isn't it? So, but you may not be able to get Diamantina as easily as just getting a rotating base mythic. So I restricted my recommendation to the other 3. And I'm just going to put Elamagrim and Ishtara as a 2-way tie for first. Elamagrim does damage to all enemies, creates 9 purple gems boosted by burning enemies, and of course he uses purple, which means it can help him refill his mana. He also decreases all enemies' attacks by 4 on 4 or 5 gem matches, which can make hard battles a little easier. Ishtara also does damage to all enemies and then creates 9 yellow gems boosted by blessed allies. and Ishtar uses yellow. And Ishtar has a 50% chance to bless a random ally when Ishtar's turn begins. Overall, I would say if you got Ishtar or you got Ellen McGrim, you probably have a good mythic that you'll use in a lot of different cases. So if you get one first, then get the other one second. And then Tiamata you can get whenever. Then get Diamantina and Horde Mythic when the situation presents itself. Okay, let's talk about the weapons. So there are quite a bit of weapons available for Dragon's Claw right now. In fact, there's a grand total of 17 so far. We'll be adding a doomed weapon to this list, and I'll talk more about that later. But for now, I'm going to talk about the Wings of Destruction. Wings of Destruction is probably going to be one of the best weapons to get as far as the legendary weapons. They'll only be available during Dragon's Claw week. Wings of Destruction explodes a bunch of purple gems, grants a random status effect to all dragon allies, and summons a dragon troop. This is always good because it can resummon troops to your side of the board. Also, it is typically better if you've got a lot of dragon troops that are maxed out. So if you're closer to the earlier part of the game, then the other weapons might be better off for you. And to be honest, this is the one I use the most often as far as the Dragon Claw weapons, which is the Mace of Claws. This deals damage to an enemy boosted by dragon allies, then creates a mix of 6 red and purple gems for each dragon ally. Can also create a firestorm when it's cast. Red and purple is very, very useful for a lot of the dragon teams that I use. So this one I find to be fairly useful. The other one is okay too, Dragon's Tail, which does damage to an enemy boosted by Dragon's Claw allies and creates a mix of 6 red and purple gems for each Dragon Claw ally. Fairly similar weapon, a little bit less damage to the enemy boosted by allies, but keep in mind that Dragon's Tails only goes by the Dragon's Claw allies, whereas Mace of Claws goes by any dragon. So I think Mace of Claws is a little bit better than Dragon's Tails, although I would recommend getting both. Honorable mention, Mystery Egg creates 8 red and 8 yellow gems. It summons either a dragon egg or a felled dragon egg. This can be a little bit more interesting compared to the dragon eggs. You can use this instead of the dragon's egg if you want. Do make sure that the felled dragons are maxed out if you're going to use this thing. The faction weapon for Worm Run is the Dragon's Talon. Dragon's Talon does damage to the first 2 enemies boosted by skulls and barrier itself. If you don't have the resources to craft this weapon during the faction event, don't worry, just let it go. This weapon is not all that useful in my opinion. And there's plenty of other weapons you can get in Dragon's Claw, so this is an easily skippable weapon if you need to save on the. And speaking of skippable weapons, although you won't be able to skip this one, is the Dragon's Eye, which is the class weapon for Dragon's Claw. It destroys 24 gems, magic-based gems, transforms the last enemy into an empowered baby dragon. The last time I used this, I used it and it transformed an ultra rare, if I remember correctly, troop that was at the bottom of the other side into an empowered baby dragon. Then it was their turn. The empowered baby dragon cast its little fireball poof spell and became a mythic dragon. I know. I can see from the look in your eyes that you've seen stuff like this before. So you're going to earn this one because you get it for 250 wins using the Dragon Guard class. You'll max it out because you need to do something with those mythic ingots that you have uh, all over the place. Then you'll forget that you ever had it. Okay, let's talk about the previous doomed weapon, which is the Doomed Focus. Doomed Focus creates red gems plus 1 gem per tempering level, 41 magic-based armor for all yellow allies. If the enemy has a doom, do stuff like that. It has some good upgrades. I would say that the doomed weapon we're going to get next is going to be better than this one. In fact, the doomed weapon we're going to get is actually pretty good. If it's since it's probably going to be along the lines of the weapons that we've gotten before. So, if you don't have this one and you can't afford to get it, don't worry. It's probably not the most important thing to get, but keep in mind that this is far from useless because it can be useful in certain teams, but very, very certain teams would say so. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the Dragon Guard class. This one is okay, in my opinion. The third trait's pretty good. All allied dragons gain 1 life and 1 magic on 4 or 5 gem matches. Always good to get extra stats. Reduce damage from skulls by 40%. I remember we were on Urskaya not too long ago. This one is kind of more of a less defensive class to have. You still want to get your hero to first position in order to most effectively use everything here. But overall, this is not going to be this is not my favorite, one of my favorite classes. Probably won't be one of yours either. You'll want to get it to power level 1 to class level 100 just to get it to where it can where you can get your Dragon's Claw Kingdom to power level 20. But as far as this last tier, probably just going to be Fireblade because these other two really don't matter too much. So, yeah, triple skull damage to burning enemies makes sense if your hero is in first position, as well as some of the other ones that are there. Like I said, not one of the better classes in the game. So, okay, so as far as pets go, the Kingdom pet is the Whelp. So you got the regular version and the starry version for doing the epic trials. The other two ones of note, Wormling, very useful, gives you a team bonus for dragons. So give you a smaller bonus for 3 unique dragons and a better bonus for 4 unique dragons. Silver Dragoon has a very similar team bonus. However, it only applies in PvP in Winter's Reach. So, and then you've got Elliot. Elliot is the faction boost pet for Wormrun, and we're going to talk about Wormrun next. Let's go to the Underworld. You can see Wormrun right over there. If you look at Fire Rift and you go northeast, you should see it right below Hall of Guardians and just to the west of Fangmoor. Wormrun is not a kingdom that not a faction that I've spent a whole lot of time yet, but sooner or later, just show. Now this faction does have a very, very useful base legendary. So if you haven't gotten this one yet, you probably want to get it, and that is the Great Worm. Great Worm does magic-based damage to all enemies boosted by skulls, and he creates 2 skulls when his turn begins. Unfortunately for him, it has damage reduction from skulls by 30%, so he gets hit less from the skulls that he is creating. So, yeah, I've seen people having teams of 2 or all 3 of these Great Worms, and believe me, one way or the other, these matches end quickly. particularly if you have three. I don't know if I've seen anyone do an all four Great Worm team, but yeah, having those, just creating a bunch of skulls, someone will win fast. Might be you, might be the other side. But I do like the Terror Worm as far as when I get to doing pure faction for this, because Terror Worm gains attack and armor boosted by skulls. So this makes it good, and it also has skulls damage reduction by 50%. So Terror Worm kind of feels to me like a good troop to put at the top of the team, and then maybe two or three of these things, and maybe one of these two if you want. But the restriction for Worm Run is yellow and red. That's a pretty easy restriction to live with, so you shouldn't have any problems with it. As for the Tower of Doom, as I mentioned before, I think that our current Tower of Doom, our current doomed weapon, is actually doing pretty good. I don't have it yet, so I have the Doomed Focus on my team, just being a placeholder for right now. But this is kind of the team that I use for late Tower of Doom grinding. So Queen Xochi is one of, I think, the best faction legendaries that you can get. I would say third on my rating system. She does damage to all enemies, and if there's a storm, explode 5 gems. She can summon a Harpy Mage when matching 4 or more gems at a 35% chance if there's a slot open. Now, if you have Stormcaller in play, then that 5 gems explosion is going to happen every single time. But even in early games, she will one-shot a lot of the stuff that's in Tower of Doom. And for a while, she'll two-shot everything. So it's a very good troop to get. If you don't have her, just open up portals in Stonesong Eerie until you do. And then I went with a kind of a mix of other troops. Finesse is really, really good for the Tower of Doom, particularly if you can go with an all Strix team, because Finesse gives 4 to all skills on all Strix allies when matching 4 or more gems, which your doomed weapon will allow you to do, particularly if you've tempered it well. And Finesse can damage 2 enemies, the one that you select, and then a random one. If either one uses yellow mana, it does double the damage. And if there's a storm, which thanks to the Stormcaller class there should be, it will give 6 mana to all other allies, which means it can bring Xochi back up so that she can do more damage. And I also had Quetzalama on this team last time. Quetzalama is not a base mythic that a lot of people like to use, but it's one I think is very underrated. It is not a good DPS team. It's not a good DPS mythic, and I think that's what people get wrong about this. But Quetzalama basically removes all gems of a particular color, not yellow, of course, then creates 10 yellow gems. And yeah, you can get decent chances of 4 or 5 gem matches with this, which can basically fill up some of these other slots as well. So having Quetzalama can basically mean Queen Xochi can be right back up and being able to damage more enemies again. And there's variants that you can do with that. Just keep in mind that you do need to keep the doomed weapon, the brand new doomed weapon, in the game somewhere. It can be at the bottom of your team if you want, but it should be there somewhere. I use Stormcaller so that all of my team is Strix. Plus, since it's traded out, that means I get a Light Storm perpetually throughout the entire battle. The banner that I'm using right here is the Stonesong Eerie banner. It does penalize Quetzalama on purple, but I like having that double brown for getting Queen Xochi back up and ready to go as quickly as possible. And plus, that single yellow works pretty good as well. And so that is the end of the video. If you enjoyed this video, consider leaving a like, subscribing to this channel, and following me on Twitch if you'd like to see me do more. In the comments below, let me know what you think about the Dragon's Claw week. What is your favorite Dragon's Claw troop? What do you think that I rated Queen Xochitl too high on my rank of faction legendaries? I'll see you in the next video.